AskReddit by XOGenny. What is the lowest probability event you have personally witnessed? At 13 years of age, my father and I used to go to dirt track races at the Dixie Speedway in Georgia. We always cheered for car 28. At 21 years of age, I start dating this girl in North Carolina, somehow get on that subject, as she was from GA. My father used to race there, number 28. This is so cute though. I was in a restaurant in Spain the night they were holding the nation's largest lottery. The staff won the lottery that night. I spent the night in a restaurant of celebration and champagne. I bet the owner was secretly thinking, what the fuck am I going to do next week? Crowded restaurant in a foreign country. Stranger eating alone offered to share their table. Found we had mutual friends. Plot twist, it was Kevin Bacon. I saw a giraffe poop on another giraffe's head. You've lived a full life. Saw a lady walk by one of those banks of slot machines where you can win a car, the kind where the car is actually on the casino floor. She stopped, considered for a moment, then turned around and put a buck in. Spins. Jackpot. Alarms go off. Won the car. She freaks out. Like, freaks the fuck out. Screaming, crying, yelling, barking, you name it. Almost faints a time or two. Her girlfriends finally get her calmed down, and they're waiting for casino staff to come over and do their thing. But this lady, she just won a car. So she's restless. And to give herself something to do, she walks over to another bank of slot machines. A bank of slot machines where you can win an entirely different car. So she puts a buck in. Spins. Jackpot. Alarms go off. Won another car. My friend Nick Papagiorgio did the same thing. I had both my best friend and a family member separately win the Powerball within a 2-year span. So I won the Powerball and suddenly I'm your best friend now? I was playing golf in a corporate league and one of the guys said this field is where I was struck by lightning. I thought that was interesting, but then another guy said you've been struck by lightning too. It's probably not insanely unlikely, but it felt like I was living in the start of a statistics test problem for a second. Men wielding metal rods in an open field. Poker night with friends. One friend got 2 royal flushes in a row. Odds of that happening are just a little better than 1,000,000,000 to 1. Was at a veterans get together and 2 guys were talking about Normandy. One was a landing craft driver and the other was a soldier that took part in the landing. Eventually their stories line up really well, so well in fact that landing craft driver drove that marine to shore during D-Day. My great grandpa was in WW1. He got stuck in no man's land for a few days wounded, and eventually got to a hospital, and spent 6 months there. Got to be good buddies with the guy in the bed next to him, but eventually both left. Decades later, he's at a party, gets to talking to another guy his age about the war. Turns out to be the same guy he was next to in the hospital. Back to back winning 13s on roulette. Doubled up after the first one because some randomer told me to take my winning chip off the number. It's not coming up again. Came up, left the doubled up chips on again. Another win. After the 3rd time they said, wow, are you leaving it on again? I said no, I'm not stupid, and left with all my winnings. I don't really gamble, but I suppose I have an unlikely story. Got pushed into joining the office sweep. They pick the horses through a lucky dip. First year, got Macaib Diva, she won. Second year, got Macaib Diva, she won. Third year, yep, got Macaib Diva, yep, she won. I got about $200 each time. Haven't bet on a horse since. Which also relates to why I don't gamble. I won $5,000 on a poker machine back in the early 2000s and I'll be damned if they're getting any of that money back, lol. I had a weird presentation of a form on cancer that put me in the 1/1 0.0000000 range. Had good doctors though. When your cancer is rare enough to be interesting, you get the top guys. I had stage II rectal cancer with some oddball complications. I was treated at a prestigious university medical center. Needless to say, I got the top bottom guys. I was in the back of the house and looked out the back window, saw it was raining and yelled to my brother he should bring his laundry in. He was in the living room at the front of the house, looked out the window, blue sky and sun, no rain. He said I was crazy. I told him to come look. We went out the front door, and it was raining in the backyard. A line that stopped right at the peak of the roof as far left and right as you could see. Sounds like Florida. I got a brain injury in an accident and the doctor told me after doing all the scans and stuff that he'd never seen an injury so bad that didn't end in paralyzation or death. The fact I walked out of the hospital a week later was a medical miracle apparently. So got that going for me. Which is nice. I locked myself outside my car while there was an amber abduction alert for the exact model year color. When I tried to unlock it through a small gap in the window on a big parking lot, cops swarmed me and almost arrested me with hands on their guns. XD, I thought it was pretty low probability. I had just picked my buddy up out of jail. Drove an hour away to a friend's house. As we were about to get out of the car, cops ran up and ripped the doors of the car open, yelling "Don't move." We were frozen for about 30 seconds, and then here it's not them. The cops didn't say shit about anything. Just jumped in their car and drove away. Not sure, but I did see someone drive through the wall of a gas station convenience store once. I was about to walk into the store when I heard the crash and watched the giant coffee containers fly across the store. I was about a foot from the door when it happened. I would have been severely injured if it had happened 5 seconds later. Surprisingly common. Do a quick search for like car drives through 7-11. Literally happens every day. I once went to a batting cage, just for fun. I'm terrible at any and all sports including baseball, and accidentally hit the ball directly back into the machine that shot it out. If my wife didn't see it too, I would never have believed I actually did it. Reminds me when I was in a baseball league as a teenager. I was at bat and when I hit the ball, it hit the pitcher square in the face. He was too injured but they had to relieve him to let him regain his composure. They used a replacement pitcher. A few innings later they allowed the first pitcher to be on the mound again. When it came my turn again, the first ball he threw, I hit him square in the head again. Totally an accident. I never could have been that precise if I had tried. Crazy. Pitcher was okay though. I hit the lip of his cap that time so it cushioned the ball somewhat. Childhood best friend moved away when we were 10 years old, never to be seen nor spoken to again until we ran into each other in Iraq 11 years later while both deployed. I dated a girl in high school for a while. Got to know her family. Her little brother was a couple years behind us. We broke up, graduated, I joined the military. Fast forward about 10 years, I was on an exercise in Kuwait. I came out of the chow hall and heard "Hey Nova Runner." I turned around and it's ex-girlfriend's little brother. A friend and I were working together and went to Burger King for lunch. He chewed on a bite for a while, then pulled a used band-aid out of his mouth. It had been in his burger. He wouldn't eat at BK after that. But wait. Several years later, and 3,000 miles away, we are working together again. We head to the nearest McDonald's for lunch, but got there just after 2 full school buses. We didn't have that kind of time, so I suggested the BK across the lot. He said no. I told him we needed food. That incident was 5 or 6 years and a continent away, so get over it. So we go to the BK, where he gets another band-aid in his burger. I laughed so hard I peed a little 30 years later and I bet he hasn't been to a BK since. Stop putting your band-aids in his burgers. I won the balloon blast off in kindergarten. The whole school was given a balloon with a small letter attached. To win the contest, whoever's balloon went the farthest when we all let them go, wins. The letter addresses the contestant as the school's address and phone number. I won out of the whole school and my balloon flew from Tennessee all the way to Indiana. I won a check for $5. This was like in 1988. We did something similar in first grade. I never got a reply for mine, but one kid got a reply from freaking Oklahoma. For context, we're in Massachusetts. Our local Wendy's here has apple trees outside for decoration. They don't do anything with the apples, so some townsfolk will sometimes go out there and pick the apples. As I was driving by one day, a gentleman was picking up apples off the ground. As he was bent over, an apple fell out of the tree and hit his head. I laughed myself to work that day. You'll laugh when he publishes his refutation of Newtonian physics. On a trip to New Zealand with my parents in 1988, we lived in Florida. I don't remember what town we were in, but we checked out of our hotel and got in the rental car. Suddenly my dad realizes that he forgot his credit card at the front desk, so he goes back in. As he's waiting for the desk clerk to go retrieve his card, he realizes that the elderly man next to him is also American, so they start talking. Long story short, turns out the other guy had been my dad's little league coach in Chicago in the 1950s. I was doing the dishes during a thunderstorm, hands deep in soapy water. I looked up at the bank of trees in front of the window and not 2 seconds later, lightning struck one of the trees less than 100 feet away. I saw the strike, went blind and deaf for a moment, then watched the pelting rain extinguish the flaming tree. I took my hands out of the water, dried them, and walked away, thanking my lucky stars that I didn't get electrocuted instead. I panic cried a little bit later, lol. Something similar happened to me. It was pouring rain, so I took my mom's dog outside on the porch to show her the rain since she's an inside dog 99% of the time. She's super anxious and can't stand not being held or in someone's lap 24/7. Just as we stepped outside, lightning struck the tree maybe 20 feet from the door. Mom's dog freaked the fuck out and I scrambled back inside with her. The air smelled so weird, best I can describe as burnt out batteries. The lightning took the entire tree out and my mom's dog was even more of a nervous wreck for a while. I saw it raining on only one car on our street. It was a bright and sunny day otherwise. Real fuck you in particular energy, also cartoony, like the car was having a sad. I ran into a guy who owed me money twice at Disneyland 2 different years. Definitely a bad place to try the times are tough excuse. I was at bingo with my friend's mom, a couple hundred people there. There's mini games and one of them has certain cards with a special symbol in the center. I won bingo, had the special character which gave me the ability to have a 1 in 15 chance to get $1,199 and I chose the right key and won. IDK the odds, but they're definitely slim.